with new information and exclusive interviews that you have never seen before now. Vicky White, a former Alabama corrections officer who isn't who people thought she was, and Casey White, a murder suspect who is much more evil than anyone could have imagined. This is an unlikely pair caught up in a web of lies and deceit. She had everyone fooled. He has nothing to lose. It has been 7 days since she broke him out of jail in Alabama, and they could be anywhere. And within the last few hours, that getaway car we've all been looking for has been found. It's that copper-colored SUV Vicky purchased using an alias. It was discovered nearly 4 hours north of Florence, Alabama. Abandoned and towed, and no sign of these fugitives.
My gut is telling me that they're obviously on the run, and you know, that they're probably right now. You know, I think the fact that they abandoned this car so quick and where they abandoned it, I think it threw them a curve. I don't think they planned for that.
They could be anywhere right now, and until they are caught, no one is safe. I want to bring in senior national correspondent Brian Enton. He is joining us live tonight from Florence, Alabama. Brian, now that the getaway car has been found, police are starting back at square one, essentially. The sheriff seems to think that dumping that car was not part of their plan.
Yeah, Marnie, the sheriff believes that that car actually broke down. It was found in a rural part of Tennessee, but the sheriff says it was not necessarily hidden, which makes him think that they had some kind of maintenance problem with it. What's interesting is they did appear to try to spray paint the car to change the color of it. But what's so frustrating right now for law enforcement, Marnie, is that car was actually discovered a week ago in Tennessee. Someone spotted it, thought it was odd that it was abandoned. It was towed to a tow yard, but it was not until today that the law enforcement officials in Tennessee contacted the sheriff's office here in Alabama and said, wait a minute, we think this is their car. So it basically gave Vicky and Casey 1 week to run, and no one even knew they weren't in the car anymore.
Brian, you've been on the ground there for about 24 hours, digging, talking to people who knew both Vicky and also Casey. And I mean, this tangled web that they created and have everybody duped for the last couple of years has gotten more and more bizarre. The more hours that pass by and the more time they're out there, the bigger the risk is. So you've been following the breadcrumbs. And as I said to you last night, there are a lot.
There are a lot. This is definitely a community and a region on edge right now. Everyone knew this couple. People especially knew Vicky White because she was from this town. She worked at the jail for almost 2 decades, and people are still trying to mentally process how all of this could have happened.
Almost no one could have suspected that Vicky White, the longtime assistant director of corrections in Lauderdale County, Alabama, had such a secret dark side.
What is Vicky like?
Solid was my word for her. So when this happened, it was such a shock. But she was not a big talker, is not a big talker, but got things done.
Lauderdale County District Attorney Chris Connolly has worked with Vicky for 16 years.
You know, it's like the stages of grief. You say this unbelievable, this didn't happen, and then you know, you get to the point where I am now, which I'm mad that she did this.
Inmates inside the jail are also shocked. This woman just bonded out.
Did you ever get a weird vibe from her when you were in jail?
No, not at all. Like she, no, I never did. I never thought that she would, you know, break any kind of rules like that. If you were having problems with any kind of COs or anything like that.
Having been in jail, are you surprised that she was able to get him out like that?
No. Mm-mm.
Why not?
Because it's chaos here.
Detectives are piecing together the days before Vicky vanished with inmate Casey White. There have been reports Vicky was seen inside this department store buying men's clothing. Workers inside told me they could not comment. And others report seeing Vicky at this adult store before she took off. A woman working inside told me her lawyer advised her not to talk about whether or not Vicky was a customer. The sheriff confirms Vicky and Casey were having a romantic relationship. Vicky lived in this house 18 miles from the Lauderdale County Jail, but sold the house days before she disappeared with Casey for $90,000, well under market value.
Is that all money that she would have? Like, is it cash? Is it?
My understanding is that yes, that she she got that money out of the bank. I mean, you know.
In cash.
And, you know, and I saw where her mother said she was also a frugal person, so she likely had a pretty sporty amount of money on top of that.
Vicky was divorced but still lived with her ex until he passed away in January from Parkinson's. They had no kids, and the sheriff wonders if she was grief-stricken.
You know, they've been divorced for several years, but I think they were still on speaking terms. And I've wondered if that might have had something to do with this or not.
Vicky's mom, Pat, lives right next door to the house Vicky lived in. She did not want to go on camera, but told me this is not the daughter she knew, and that all of this has come as a total shock.
But there are some people who knew Vicky who are not as surprised. Right now, we're going to meet up with one man who worked with Vicky at the jail.
Nobody is surprised. Nobody from there that has worked with her in the past is surprised.
Vicky was Tyson Johnson's boss for 7 years at the jail before he says he was wrongfully terminated. He says she is smart and calculated and has a dark side.
Where do you think she is right now?
That's a good question. That is a very good question. Honestly, I don't think she'll be found. Like, she is calculated enough that she has thought this entire thing out. She definitely outsmarted the sheriff. She outsmarted the administrator of the jail.
The U.S. Marshals released these photos showing Casey White's tattoos and also what Vicky might look like with brown hair.
And also, Vicky used the tanning bed a lot and laid out in the sun. And Vicky may have been 57 years old, but she looked 75. The photos that they're releasing of her, there's a filter. They're all bright on the face because it's not showing the true her. A lot of people, former employees that have called me, it's like, if Vicky dyed her hair gray and put on some old lady clothes and glasses, she could walk right by you and you would never know it.
How long will Vicky and Casey avoid capture? Their getaway car now found, but law enforcement admits the fugitives have been one step ahead of them and could be anywhere.
I think that her knowledge of corrections and her knowledge of the procedures that we use here in the sheriff's office on transport most definitely played to her advantage. I think this was a very well thought out plan.
Do you personally think they're far away?
I do. I do. I can't see her as smart as she is holed up somewhere around here, but who knows? Obviously, I didn't know her as well as I thought I did.
And important to point out, if anyone sees Vicky or Casey White, the sheriff is emphasizing to stay away. They believe the couple right now is armed and dangerous. They believe they have an AR-15 and a shotgun. Marnie?
Yep, so people are looking for them, Brian. Their pictures are plastered everywhere. He's 6'9", so he's hard to miss. But you talked to some people today who said they're likely changing their disguise, so you may not be looking for what you think you're looking for.
Absolutely. The district attorney, who is very much a part of this investigation, says they are working on one theory, that it is possible that they have a wheelchair with them and that Vicky is actually pushing Casey in a wheelchair and that he may have a wig on to disguise himself as a woman. She has him in the wheelchair possibly so that you can't tell how tall he is. They're not sure that that's what's happening. It's one thing they're looking into. They're also not sure where they are tonight. They say at this point they could be anywhere.